Let's give Leah Scott a round of applause and the team who's been working with her for Fit Camp. You are making a tremendous step in your life to take care of your health. Because outside of salvation in the Lord Jesus Christ, the next best thing, of course, family is very important, but the next best thing is your health. Because if you don't have your health, you got nothing. You could be the richest person on this planet, and you be in a hospital sick, and you cannot enjoy the riches. You could be the smartest person on the planet, and if you're sick, it's not going to do any good. How many rather have, and be honest, how many rather have $200 million or be healthy for the rest of your life? Which one would you take? Absolutely. I wish you could get both, though, really, right? Yeah, but you would take the health. Now, health is the greatest investment that you can make. And regardless of your genetic predisposition, genes load the gun, but your choices fire it. Did you hear what I just said? Genes load the gun, so you may have a predisposition, based on family legacy, family genetic makeup. But sometimes, if you take care of your health, you can avoid that. So we're going to talk about basically a simple way of dealing with your diet. Now, I noticed one of the things about the posters. They're very good. They're excellent. You see anybody sad on these posters? Right? Everybody looks very happy. Because that's what advertising is all about. Everybody has, even this guy who's sleeping, he looks peaceful, he looks good, right? One of the great things that you need to do when we talk about this issue of becoming a vegan is that you want to be a positive advertisement of what it's all about. Because many times when people are healthy or they advertise health, they may have a toxic disposition that just kills the advertisement, right? Bad attitude. They might be very fanatical about stuff. There's some folk that will tell you that you can't go to heaven unless you're vegetarian or vegan, right? And they're very fanatical about that. We want you to be a very positive advertisement for your health. When somebody looks at you, before they even speak to you, they should see a glow on your face, a pep in your step, a brightness in your skin, because you're taking care of yourself. Now let me tell you a brief story, and then we're going to go basically some benefits here about being a vegan. My grandmother, God bless her soul, she's resting in the Lord. When I was 5 years old, I was the first grandchild. So I think my brother was around too. But she would take us walks, And I noticed there was a walk around the park. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and Willard Park. And I noticed this guy walking. Now, I had to be about 5, 6, 7, something like that, no more than 7 years old. And I noticed this guy was walking like this, right? So in my little mind, I'm asking my grandmother, we used to call her Nana. I said, Nana, what's wrong with that man? And she started laughing. And she said, that man is old. So in my brain, right then, between 5 and 7 years old, I decided that if I get to that man's age, I'm not going to be like that. I don't know how I figured it out, but I said, no, that's not the way to do it. And folks, even no matter where you are right now in your life, you can transform what you do if you have the right mentality. Did you hear what I just said? Look this woman up. They call her the Iron Nun. You could write the note down, look her up on YouTube. the Iron Nun. Her name is Sister Madonna Buter. She is probably right now maybe between 85 and 87 years old. She started taking up running. A priest told her, why don't you just take up running? She started at 50 years old. And then she graduated into doing triathlons. You know what a triathlon is? You know what I mean? Yeah, you swim, you bike, you run. And she's done so many of them that she was invited to the ultimate triathlon, which is in Kona, Hawaii. And she came in the best time in her age group. Of course, she was the only one in her age group. She was like 80 years old or something like that. But it just shows you that it's never too late to be what you might have been. That's a quote from the British author George Eliot. It's never too late to be what you might have been. You may think that because you have these bad habits or whatever, that it's too late. No, you can reverse it. But it's all about your mentality. Don't tell yourself. I was talking with our youth leader, Pat Graham. And he told us, and Natasha was out there, he told us he couldn't do 4 push-ups. I said, you already canceled yourself out. I said, tell yourself that you can do 4 push-ups, and I guarantee you, when you get on the ground and do them push-ups, you'll do it. So take that thinking out of your mind. Yes, he did 4, and I said, you could have done 10. You know what I mean? So it's all about what you put in your mind and what you tell yourself, right? Okay, let's start with the benefit here. This is what is called the 5-headed dragon. The 5-headed dragon of disease in America. And by the way, the healthcare industry is not interested in you becoming well. It is profitable for you to be sick. Monsanto, which sprays a lot of the crops in America, Bayer bought Monsanto. You know Bayer aspirin?
Oh boy.
They bought Monsanto about a year ago. It's all about keeping you sick. But you're going to have to determine that you're not going to, by the grace of God, that you're not going to fall into that. So, the 5-headed dragon here is the 5-headed dragon of American disease. Here it is. Number 1 is what, everybody? Heart disease. Heart disease kills more Americans than drive-bys in urban America annually. Annually. Next one is what? Breast cancer. Next one? Prostate cancer. And men, that is, we'll talk a little bit about that, especially with men, because I know that women particularly, they'll go to the doctor in a heartbeat. Right? And can I get a witness, ladies? Y'all go to the doctor in a heartbeat. As far as the men are concerned, you got to be on your deathbed to drag the brother. Let me tell you, men, I get an annual physical every year. Let me tell you, every year I get an annual physical. And that one thing that you have to check, you have to have your doctor check your prostate. Yes. Next one is what? Back in the day when I was a kid, they would call it, we got sugar. And you see folk, their leg is amputated. And it's just something that's supposed to be normal. And the other one is what? Obesity. Now, we're not here to shame anybody, but this is the one of the 5-headed disease. By the way, and I'm a reference guy. There's a guy named Michael Greger. He spells his last name is Greger. Dr. Michael Greger. He wrote a book called How Not to Die.
Is it ER or OR?
ER. He spells it ER. Yeah, it's on Amazon. How Not to Die. Now, let's get some things straight. I don't care how good your diet is. If Jesus doesn't come, we're going to die. But the point he was making is he did the study of the 15 leading causes of death and disease in America. And he said if you go on a plant-based diet, you are less likely to die from these. Now, I just gave you the 5-headed monster, but he's got some other stuff, right? By the way, it was a New York Times bestseller. So one of the great things about becoming plant-based, because all of these diseases are related to eating animal products. All of these diseases are related to eating animal products, right? Saturated fat and cholesterol and all that type of thing. This year, I got 3 calls from men who are at least 30 years younger than I am. I'll explain that later. You look. All 3 of these guys called me because they know I'm a guy that, health and and veganism and all that type of thing. They all called me because they all had prostate cancer. A Baptist preacher who I went to school with, we did our doctorate of ministry together. My son-in-law, and then the guy that I baptized when he was younger. Yeah. I'll do the big reveal later, right? All had prostate cancer. Now, fortunately, at least 2 of the guys, okay, you got the cancer. One had to get surgery, Now, this is like, you 40-something years old and you getting this type of surgery and you getting your prostate removed, Matter of fact, one of the guys, they said that they couldn't operate. The doctor says, until you lose 30 to 40 pounds, I'm not going to operate on you. But they decided after I talked to him, I said, okay, this is not the end of the world, but cut down your animal products. Matter of fact, get rid of it altogether. Get rid of it altogether. Because you don't want the reoccurrence of that type of thing. So it's real, folks. It's real. So you can cut this down in half. By the way, let me say this also. Diet combined with exercise and a positive mental attitude. So we're not just talking about diet alone, but you have to have the discipline of exercise. How many of y'all feel motivated since you've been to Fit Camp? You're motivated, right? How many of you feel inspired? All right, let me ask you, what's going to happen when you go back home? Your inspiration and your motivation must turn into self-discipline. Do you know what self-discipline is? I do it whether I feel like it or not. Did you hear what I said? I do it whether I feel like it or not. I exercise whether I feel like it or not. I'll go out. If you're a runner or a walker, I'm going out whether it's raining or not, whether it's cold or not, whatever the case may be. You have to turn this into self-discipline, or it's not going to work. Tony Robbins and a lot of these motivational speakers, they fire you up. You go to the conferences, and they give these testimonies. These people have gone there. Nothing wrong with Tony Robbins, but I'm just saying these folk would give these testimonies, how they've been inspired and motivated, and then when they go home, and maybe a month later, they're back to where they were before they went to the conference. And you have to be self-disciplined. Whether you feel like it or not, you're going to do it with some support, okay? All right. The second benefit, I'm giving you 10. Second benefit, the first benefit, of course, you ward off disease, right? Second benefit, by the way, this is my friend Tracy McWhorter. I know her personally, and I met her mother, Mary. She just came out with this book called The Ageless Vegan. The Ageless Vegan. Okay, let's start with Tracy. How old do you think Tracy is? That's on your left. Yeah, on your left. There we go. Yeah. Give it age. 35. About 35? Yeah, 35. Okay. And what about a mom? 70? Okay, Tracy just turned 50 years old, and a mother is 80, 81. Yeah. Now she has this book called, oh boy. If you look her name up on Amazon, she has another book out, especially for black women, particularly on going vegan because of the high rates of breast cancer and et cetera, et cetera. But this one, Ageless Vegan, is very good. I told you I'll do the big reveal later about my age. Because y'all looked at me and said, son-in-law is like, oh. Right? And I'm going to tell you, I have grandchildren too. Yeah. Yeah, my oldest daughter, who's married to the son-in-law who had breast cancer. Prostate cancer. He better not have breast cancer. Well, no, men do get breast cancer. Yes, they do. Yeah. So you can reverse the aging process. How do you do it? What's happening here? Well, when you eat meat and that diet of meat, basically, and animal products, it takes a long time for it to get out of the digestive system. It takes about 72 hours, 3 days. That means that stuff is staying there. Because the body, God did not make the body to eat meat. Because if God did, you would have a different set of teeth. Let me ask you a question. How many of y'all like the Discovery Channel? You watch those, the animals and the tigers and all that business, and they running after the giraffes and getting their meat, and when they catch it, does the lion always ask the other lion, before I eat this gazelle's meat, I need to barbecue it. I need to bake it. I need to fry it. No, he's tearing into that thing. He don't need to do that. Oh, by the way, no. Does he say I need to season it? Does he say that? No, he's tearing that thing up. Right? So we, as human beings, we cannot go to the supermarket, take the meat out of the supermarket. Can you imagine doing that? Taking the meat out of the supermarket and then say, here's your dinner. Boom. Right on the plate.
Makes life easier.
It does, doesn't it? It does. But that person looking like your family look at you like you crazy. You better cook this, you better bake this, you better broil this, you better do that. By the way, when you see the meat in the supermarket, it makes it attractive because they put red dye 40 in it. If they did not have that red dye, you see a normal carcass that's decayed. Right? So, that it's all about a selling item. So think about that when you go through the chicken item and the. But it just says, and so that it ages the body with the digestive process, basically. And by the way, here's another thing. Here's a spiritual component of it also. When you put death in your body,
Oh, God.
Can I be real here? We had fit camp, right? When you put death in your body, it has a reaction. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the point of energy, right? Right. Oh, by the way, how many of you guys are investors? You invest in stuff, or you know anything about that, or you like to invest? I'm not trying to get you to invest in anything, but they always say follow the money. Right? If you want to see a trend like an investor, if you study the money market, study what people are investing in. And Bill Gates, and there was another guy, which I cannot remember his name. Thank you very much. You are correct. They started investing in plant-based products. They started to put their money in there. Follow the money. Because that's what's happening right now. Right? All right. Oh, here's another lady. How old do you think she is? You seen her, right? So you know how old she is, right? Yes, this is Annette Larkins, and she is about 75, 76. Now, what I forgot to do was get a picture of her husband, because her husband looks like her grandfather, or, yeah. No, I'm serious. Yeah, or father. We'll give her a father. Yeah, father, yeah. Her husband looks like her father. he decided that he didn't want to do what she's doing. He didn't want to go along with her. You make choices, right? But she is, now, you know, there are different types of vegans, of course, that, you know, she's mostly a raw vegan. She does raw foods. Not one thing is right or wrong, it's just that's her journey, right? Then we have this guy, Dr. Ellsworth Wareham. He's a retired cardiac surgeon. He retired at age 95. He retired. He said, the reason why he retired, he says he wanted to give the young guys a chance. He's been a vegan for over 50 years, and if his birthday is this October, and God willing he lives to October, he'll be, and he still looks like this, he'll be 104 years old. He is in what is called one of the blue zones of America, Loma Linda, where Seventh-day Adventists congregate there, and most of them eat a plant-based diet, a vegan diet. And you can see, I think, what's that guy's name on CNN who's the doctor? I can't even pronounce his name. Thank you very much. He interviewed him. You can find it on YouTube. He still drives his car. He still mows the lawn in his house. Yeah, he still does his thing, right? Him and his wife, they still married and active in the community, you know. So it's just supporting what I say about being ageless, right? All right. So the next thing, I think that would be number 3 or 3, something like that. No, number 1 is disease. It wards off disease. Number 2, age defying. Then number 3 is it's cheap. How many like to be cheap? Some things you need to be cheap. Some things you don't need to be cheap. You're going on vacation, you don't need to be cheap. Well, you try to get a cheap fare. You follow what I'm saying? But the first thing people always say, oh, it's too expensive to be vegan. No, it isn't. Because all you have to do is go into the store and get some beans and some rice and some kale, avocado, and you're good to go. Back in the day, I grew up in a home where, like, if my mom was struggling a little bit, what she made? Beans and rice with some cornbread. And that was some good stuff. That was some good stuff. But you see, folk think that, you know, it's expensive, you know, because you go to Costco and you go to Target and you see Gardein. Now, I'm not mocking Gardein products. If you're transitioning and you still got that taste, that meat taste in your mouth, Gardein is good to see you through the taste. But try to keep it very simple, right? And there's so many varieties. You see all these beans and seeds and lentils and the chickpeas. And by the way, have you ever had this question, where do you get your protein? You want me to give you an answer? In everything. Protein is in everything. You know, now unless you're a bodybuilder, you don't need a lot of protein. You know, because, you know, bodybuilders, if you want to get into the competitive situation, you know, but it's in everything. By the way, where does a cow get their protein? From plants. So what you need to do is cut out the middleman or the middle cow. Yeah, cut out. The same thing with the fish. Folks say, well, you know, I need the omega-3. Where does the fish get the omega-3? Algae. So cut out the middle fish and get the algae omega-3. You got what I'm saying? So it's cheap. And even if being a vegan was expensive, your health is your investment. It's not going to be more expensive than being in a hospital day to day. I did a study about the cost of being in a hospital based on states. And I know, like in New York State, it'll cost you $1,300 a day to be in the hospital. So that's why folk need insurance. You follow what I'm saying? So you're not going to spend $1,300 a day on cooking vegan food. You got what I'm saying? So you are your most important investment. Turn to your neighbor and says, I am my most important investment. And that's why you're here at Fit Camp, because you are investing in yourself. Because you want to live a strong life, a healthy life. You know, when you're aging, you want your grandkids to say, oh my God, look at grandma, look at granddad. You follow what I'm saying? And that will trigger off on them. And they'll have stories. Oh man, I'm still, my grandkids like 12, 11, I'm still beating them running. Of course I do a little trickery, but I still can beat them running. Right? So it's cheap, right? It's cheap. And by the way, you see all the variety of kale, the brown rice, the potatoes, you know. You don't have to be a chef to cook well. Just put it together and by the way, even if you don't know how to cook, here's what I do as a single guy. I go on YouTube. I get the recipe. I learn how to cut onions and stuff without crying, you know what I mean? Everything's on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. All right? Okay. Number 4, I think it is, whatever it is that food is medicine. Food, say that with me, everybody. Is medicine. You want to have, your refrigerator ought to be your medicine cabinet, not your medicine cabinet, right? You don't have, you don't have 1,000 things in your medicine cabinet. You got to take it for this, and you got to take it for that, and arthritis and diabetes. I am not telling you that if your doctor prescribes something for you to get rid of your medication. I'm not telling you that. But I have seen, there's a documentary, write this down, you get it on Netflix, Forks Over Knives. Yes. Have you seen that? Yes. Where they had a guy who had high cholesterol, and they had another guy with diabetes, and they put him on a 90-day plant-based diet, cut off half of his medication. Because remember now, and I'm not saying that medication is bad, but remember this, the healthcare industry is not interested in you becoming healthy. It is profitable for you to remain sick, right? But I'm not telling you not to avoid a doctor's advice. See, he's taping everything, so I did not say to avoid medication. I'm saying, though, but use this as your medicine, and you'd be surprised. With exercise, with a positive disposition, you could cut that off, so to speak, or cut it down, cut it in half, right? And it's just so many colors, as you see here, right? You see these blueberries down here? That's good for the brain. Make yourself a blueberry kale smoothie every day. You should continue to have your memory, and then the red stuff is for your, heart. So everything, by the way, that's a website that's great. You can look it up, veganstreet.com. Vegan Street that has all these diagrams and things like that. So it's just wonderful stuff that the Creator has given to us. Because the Bible says, I would prosper, I want you to prosper and be in good health. That's 3 John verse 2. This is God's will for you to be healthy. Right? Yes. Next thing is, now here's more on the ethical side of the vegan situation. 56 billion animals are killed each year just for the taste of his or her life. Beatle Paul McCartney, he's no longer Beatle, of course, but he says and he's a vegan, and he says if slaughterhouses had windows, everybody would be vegetarian or vegan. If you would just see what happens there. A good book, not a good book, if you can take it, there is a documentary, and I think that's on YouTube, called Earthlings, to watch that side of the situation, where animals are mercilessly slaughtered. They take the calves and the babies from the mothers, And it's a horrible industry. And even those workers who are working there, they get jaded also, hurt or mentally jacked up to see all that. So that's something that if you can take it, watch that. Earthlings, it's on YouTube, I believe. Earthlings, yeah, Earthlings. But that's the only ethical side. That's why in some cases, you know, when we talk about being a vegan, you know, it's not just a diet. It's also say, okay, I'm done with the leather. You won't even know the difference. Right now, you see this belt I'm wearing? Do you know the difference? It's no leather whatsoever, right? And I got cowboy boots, not even leather. You know, but that's my journey. Your journey is to get to first base, is to change your diet. That's where you want to go, right? All right. And I would say also, you know, I do security details, so I had to buy some leather shoes for my feet. But, you know, it's like, you know, you make these adjustments. You know what I mean? All right. And the next benefit is that you could solve the world hunger problem if you stop eating meat. You see these graphs here? Feeding the world. On the meat-based diet, only 35% of the world is fed. By the way, this issue of hunger is not something that God has ordained. It's all about politics and controlling governments. But if you begin to back off on meat, you could feed a lot more people doing that. UN has a study on that, which I just cannot remember what that study is, but it talks about that because UN has done those studies also on this issue. But here's the situation. Wherever there's money, there is corruption to a certain degree, right? So the dairy industry doesn't want to lose that. They're in cahoots with the healthcare industry. They don't want to lose that money. They'll start discrediting. Like, have you seen a documentary, What the Health? Yes. Yeah, they start discrediting stuff. Because this thing is growing fast, especially outside of America. It's growing like crazy, especially in England and places like that. We're a little slow on that, but we're starting to come around, basically, right? So you could feed folk. Veganism doesn't only save animals' lives. Tonight this child will go to bed hungry, yet elsewhere in the world, cattle will eat 16 pounds of grain to make just 1 pound of beef. So really, when you talk about going plant-based, you're an activist. You're doing a silent protest based on what you put on your plate. And you're helping somebody, right? Y'all got that? All right. All right, the next benefit is a 5-letter word. Let's see. Let's play, what's the name of that? Wheel of Fortune. What's that 5-letter word that's the next benefit? Fiber. Say it loud. Fiber, which Americans don't get enough. So when somebody tell you you're full of something, it might be true. Fiber. You should at least, how can I say this? Go to the bathroom. You know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. You should move your bowels. If you eat enough fibers, you should be moving your bowels at least 2 to 3 times a day. At least. Matter of fact, when you get up in the morning, based on what you ate last night, colon cancer rates are high in America because folks are not moving their bowels. Somebody told me a long time ago they had a problem moving their bowels. I don't know if they were exaggerating, but it had to be like 3 weeks or something like that. Please, are you kidding me? better go to the doctor, which they did finally. But it's because they're not eating fiber. By the way, let me tell you, there is 0 fiber in animal products. 0. How much, everybody? 0. Add another 0. 0, 0. Add another 0. 0, 0, 0. Nothing. And this is why folk are constipated. Your boss is always angry because he or she is constipated. So you start making salads for your boss. It may work to your advantage. You might be the boss, so you need to work. You put some salad in there, right? Because the body was meant for plants. Because remember, I told you that your digestive system, the meat stays like 72 hours. It's a rotten corpse there. So it's fighting. And then what happens with all that stuff that they put in the meat, and I know somebody said, well, what about what they put in plants? Well, you get it either organic, or you can do, what they say, you could soak it in baking soda for 10 minutes, it gets all that stuff out of there. Yeah. I think it's baking soda, but it's something. The vegetables. In other words, if you the pesticides, it'll get all of it out. Or you get it organic, which is still sprayed, but it is not sprayed with the deadly stuff. Oh, really? Okay. All right. Hydrogen peroxide. But you see the benefits of fiber, aids in weight management, beneficial in reducing risks of diabetes, prevents constipation, and protects against colon cancer. Now I'm not here to shame anybody, but let's deal with the men. When you see, I just saw this big time preacher. I'm not even gonna mention who the preacher's name. You all would know that preacher. And I saw him the other day. He was preaching, and his belly was about this big. Don't be mentioning by his name now. His belly was that big. You know why it's that big? Is because the waist is still in the belly. The waist, still in the belly. Right? Men, you don't want to look. Men, you do not want to look like you're 13 months pregnant, or anybody else that you know, because the waist is still there. Because it just, you eat bad, right? Yes. That too. Yeah, out of shape too. It's still possible for you to have a nice, manageable belly. Yeah, she said, is it possible because he's out of shape? Yeah, that too. That, I'm going to have to go on my phone on that one because it cut off. But protects against colon cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer. Let me see. I have to go on my phone here. Maintain a healthy heart. Maintain a healthy heart protects against colon cancer, breast cancer, and ovarian cancer. All right? All right, next thing is, if you eat a plant-based diet nicely, you could lose a significant amount of weight, but it has to be with exercise. Now, the American Institute for Cancer Research says they make a connection between obesity and cancer, basically, and you'll see all the cancers there. There's a guy, and I just cannot think of his name, but he's from New Orleans. He grew up in New Orleans, and people eat a lot of meat down there, and he had to be about almost 400 pounds or so, right? And he watched Forks Over Knives, and he decided that he was going to adopt a plant-based diet. He lost 50% of that weight, right? And now he's a runner. I just cannot think of this fella's name. I see his face. He was on, what's that show that comes on after the Today Show? No, something else, but he was on there, basically. So if you do it right, what I mean by doing it right is that you have to minimize eating those vegetarian processed foods. You got what I'm saying? You have to minimize it. When you're transitioning, don't stay on that long. Also, whenever you buy something, if you need a chemistry degree to figure out the ingredients, forget it. Right? So try to avoid that. And that's a big thing in America, especially among kids. That is big among kids, is obesity, because you're setting up for all these cancers, right? All right. All right. I think this is like the 9th one or whatever it is. It says energy. How to dramatically improve your energy level. People tell me that once they stop eating meat, their energy level goes up. Right? Why do you think that is? Well, it goes back to my theory that whenever you put death in your body, it brings depression, low energy. But now you're putting living foods. Now remember I said I start off with diet, exercise, positive attitude. How do you get a positive attitude? You get a positive attitude by being grateful, by expressing gratitude under any circumstance. Now there's a scripture, I know this is not a church gathering, but I'm going to give you the scripture to look it up. In Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good to those who love God and called according to his purpose. Now, not everything is good, but it'll work out for the good. Now, here's what Oprah tells you to do, and I agree with her. She says every day, get a journal. Every day, write 5 things that you are grateful for, and they have to be different every day. Now, what she's doing, here's what I call it glory sightings. Glory sightings. Can you say that word, everybody? Glory. It is the evidence of God blessing every day. And you start paying attention. Even like, okay, I was like, oh man, I wanted to learn something about the vegan diet, and all of a sudden I saw an article in the newspaper. Lord, I'm thankful you helped to learn something. Or I met somebody and they encouraged me about something. I'm thankful for that. You see, you got to pay attention to the glory sightings that happen every day. Even in the midst of bad stuff. See, in New York where I live, and I'm sure probably we've had a heat wave, right? Oh man, it was rough. But the great glory sign is that one day it rained. So it cooled all that heat down. You know what I'm saying? But you have to put your mind into that. Okay, get fired off the job. Maybe the job, you got fired. What's the glory sighting? Think about what the good in that. Well, maybe I always wanted to start my own business. Now it's time for me to do that. Or maybe I was getting out of a toxic environment. You got to look in the good of all that. So with the energy level, with the exercise, with the diet, with a positive attitude, you can lift your energy level. Sometimes you may, if you got young grandchildren, you're tired of chasing them because you don't have the energy level, right? But if you eat something and put life in it, by the way, how much time I got? Almost wrapping up, right?
No, you'll go until about 10 minutes to 11, and so we have 10 minutes for questions.
Okay, good. Well, I'm almost wrapping up anyway. I was just wondering. Yeah. I have no loss of energy whatsoever at my age. I'll tell you later my age. When you're over for questions, I'll tell you my age later. No loss of energy whatsoever. Very grateful because I practice the exercise, the diet, the positive attitude. I don't hold on to negativity long. I don't. Even if you did something to me, I'm not going to be holding on to it. Why should I hold on to it? Now, you may be holding on to it for years. That's your problem. That's not going to be my problem. You got what I'm saying? But you want to have that energy. Just like think about the Iron Nun. Look her up on YouTube. 85 years old. Doing triathlons. Started running at 50. Started running at 50. You could do it. It's all up here, right? Turn to your neighbor and says, I want to have an energy level. Now say that with some energy. All right. That's why you're here. Age is just a number. It's just a number. So whatever you put to it. I guess, look at some of the young folk you see. When you go back home, look at some of these young folk that don't have any energy. 20 years old, teenage. Walking all slow like the old people. You know, see these young guys with their pants hanging down, walking all slow and trying to get the pants up. What kind of stuff is that? And they get the most beautiful woman so attracted to them. What is that all about? I have no idea what that's about. Lord have mercy. How did I get off on that? Anyway. Anyway, so you raise your energy level, okay? And then the last one here. Now, you may not be able to see this pretty good, but this guy is Joel Furman. He spells his name F-U-H-R-M-A-N. Joel Furman. You probably see him on PBS a lot. He has this latest book called Fast Food Genocide. Here's another reason why you should go vegan. Dr. Furman connects the dots not only between food and our obesity and diabetes epidemic, but food and almost everything that's wrong with this country. Poverty, violence, attention deficit, right? Autism, dementia, cancer. This book will change the way you think about what you eat. Here's the interesting thing. If I was to put bad food in a neighborhood, and a number of people die of cancer, diabetes, you name it, but we just named in the first slide, you could never charge me with homicide. I could literally get away with murder because I put the food in there. I know that's going to cause cancer if you eat enough of it. And there's certain underserved areas that actually have not enough vegetables, not enough organic products, where you have to drive a couple miles to get the good food. More than a couple. I want to tell you, it's done deliberately. Deliberately. If you're talking about killing folk off, I told you, this guy named Ron, they call him the gangster gardener. He was, and he's still in L.A. I just can't think of his last name. But he decided to grow vegetables on his property, right? Because he changed his diet. And the city literally took him to court because he couldn't find any great food around the neighborhood where he's in. I think he was in Watts or something like that. And he had to fight the city on this issue. And eventually it took a while, but he won. He won the case where he could grow food on his property, basically. So, you know, he says that more Americans are killed by the drive-through than by the drive-by. So I can get away with murder. Quote, write that quote in there, you probably get the guy's name. It's Ron something. Yeah, Ron. More Americans are killed. Ron Finley, thank you very much. Ron Finley. And he's on TED Talks. He's done TED Talks where he had to fight the city to grow food. Food is very important, folks. I mean, if I get biblically with you, the reason why sin was in this world is because of appetite. Eating something they wasn't supposed to eat. And it's been killing folk ever since. But you're going to tell yourself today you're not the one. You're not going to be the one. You're going to live a healthy, energetic, vibrant life. Even if the Lord doesn't come and even you turn to be about 104, you're going to still be out there swimming, biking, running, hiking. But it starts here. It starts here at Fit Camp. And it starts with you changing your mentality and putting the work in. You have to put the work in. And the work is called self-discipline. Do it whether you feel like it or not. And don't say, well, I'm too old to do it. Never count yourself out. Well, I don't have enough money. Just, like Nike says, just do it. Just do it. And you'll be glad that you did. It's easier than when I went plant-based. It's easier today. Now the stores are accommodating. You can go, like I say, you go to Target, Walmart, Costco. They all accommodating now. Now they got Whole Foods. You know, tell you my story in brief, and then we open up for questions. When I decided I started out being a vegetarian. I was still living home. And my mother, she's from the South, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I made this big announcement to my mother, you know, because I was working in and this is before I got in ministry. I was working after high school. I was working in the shipping department in this library in Buffalo. And so one of the truck drivers, you know, the staff, he was talking, and he said to me, guess how old I am? So I said, I guess you're about 25. He says, no, I'm 40. I said, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm a vegetarian. And, you know, he talked to me about the benefits of being a vegetarian. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try that. Right? So I go home and make this big announcement to my mother that I was going to be a vegetarian. Mother ain't say nothing. And it so happened that she was making the evening meal. And if you know about the Southern folk, she had the brown paper bag with the seasoning in there, shaking up that bag with her chicken. Said nothing. Put it on that frying pan with all that grease there, popping and everything. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And chicken smelling up the house. Good. Lord have mercy. I said, I ain't gonna go. No. I'll wait till tomorrow. I tore that chicken up. But then I said, nope. Some said to me, you got to do this. And I had to figure my way out, you know, and luckily I worked at the library, so I could read a lot of books and stuff, you know, and, you know, and ever since then, you know, I've been on this journey. And about 3 years, I went vegan, you know what I mean, because I was vegetarian for a long time. And the reason why it took me 3 years is because I didn't know anything about veganism. And then I got exposed. I said, oh, well, let me just do this, you know, and it's working out for me.